Look down at what you are wearing right now. The fabric touching your skin feels completely normal. It feels like a basic human necessity, but you are wrong. Look at every other animal on this planet. They survive the freezing cold, the blistering heat, and the darkest nights completely naked. We are the only species that decided our own skin wasn't good enough. You think you wear clothes for warmth, you think you do it for modesty. But biologically speaking, it is completely absurd. We aren't just wearing clothes, we are hiding a biological mutation that evolution couldn't fix. To understand why you are wearing clothes, we have to go back. Back before cities, back before agriculture, back to the African savanna, roughly 2 million years ago. At that time, your ancestors were covered in thick, dark fur. Just like every other primate on the planet, fur is a perfect evolutionary adaptation. It regulates temperature, it protects against the sun, it blocks insect bites, scratches, and infections. It is biological armor. But our ancestors had a problem. They were moving out of the dense forests and into the open, sweltering grasslands. They needed to hunt, but they weren't fast enough to outrun prey, and they didn't have sharp claws to kill it. So evolution gave them a different weapon: endurance. Humans became the ultimate pursuit predators. We couldn't sprint faster than an antelope, but we could jog after it for 6 hours until it literally collapsed from heat exhaustion. This is called persistence hunting. It is one of the most brutal, terrifying hunting strategies in the animal kingdom. We didn't overpower our prey. We simply refused to stop following it. We became the monsters that never get tired. But to run for 6 hours under the brutal African sun, you have to cool down. And fur traps heat. So, over hundreds of thousands of years, we made a catastrophic biological trade. We stripped off our fur and replaced it with millions of sweat glands. We became the naked ape. We traded our armor for the ability to sweat, and it worked. We conquered the savanna, but we created a terrifying new problem. We were naked. We were exposed. Without fur, the sun burned our skin. Insects carried diseases directly into our bloodstream. Every brush against a thorn bush tore us open. We were walking around in the most hostile environment on Earth with our biological defenses completely stripped away. And then it got worse. Because humans didn't stay in Africa. Around 100,000 years ago, we started walking north, into Europe, into Asia, into the ice. The temperatures plummeted. Winter lasted for months. We walked into environments that were actively trying to kill us. The Ice Age wasn't just a season. It was an epoch of relentless, crushing winter. The wind howled across the steppes. The nights lasted for 14 hours. The frost bit into our exposed skin, turning tissue black and necrotic. If you fell asleep naked in the snow, you didn't wake up. Every other animal in those environments had thick coats of fur and layers of blubber. We had bare skin and a layer of sweat. Evolution is incredibly slow. It takes millions of years to grow a thick coat of fur back. We didn't have millions of years. We had months. If we didn't figure out a way to survive the freezing nights, the human story was going to end in the snow. So, an ancient human looked at a dead animal, and they made a decision that changed the world. They took a sharp rock. They sliced the animal open. They peeled the skin off its flesh, and they wrapped the dead skin around their own living body. This wasn't fashion. This was desperate, bloody survival. Early clothing was heavy. It smelled like rotting meat. It had to be chewed with human teeth for hours just to make it soft enough to wear without scraping your skin raw. But it worked. We hijacked the evolutionary adaptations of other animals. We wore the bear's fur. We wore the deer's hide. We cheated the system. But for a long time, scientists had a massive problem. They didn't know exactly when this happened. Clothing doesn't fossilize. Animal hides rot away. Bone needles only appear in the fossil record around 40,000 years ago. But humans had survived ice ages long before that. How could we pinpoint the exact moment we started wearing clothes when all the evidence had turned to dust? In 2003, a geneticist named Mark Stoneking found the answer. And it is disgusting. He didn't look at human bones. He didn't look at ancient campsites. He looked at a parasite. Lice. Human head lice have been with us for millions of years. They live in our hair. They drink our blood. But there is a second type of louse that feeds on humans. The body louse. Body lice don't live in hair. They cannot survive on bare skin. They only live, breed, and lay their eggs in the fibers of clothing. If you don't wear clothes, body lice literally cannot exist. Stoneking realized something brilliant. If he could trace the DNA of the body louse back to the exact moment it mutated and split away from the head louse, he would find the exact moment humans started wearing clothes. He realized that if he could compare the DNA of the head louse to the body louse, he could count the mutations. He could use those mutations like a ticking clock. He could track the exact century when the body louse split from its ancestor, and when he ran the math, the results were undeniable. The split happened roughly 170,000 years ago, right around the time the second major ice age was peaking. 170,000 years. That is how long we have been wrapping ourselves in dead things. But here is where the story stops being about biology and starts being about psychology. When we put the clothes on, we survived the ice. But we could never take them off again, because over the next 100,000 years, something strange happened in the human brain. As clothing became a permanent fixture of human life, it stopped being a tool. It became part of our identity, and it created a brand new emotion, an emotion that no other animal on this planet is capable of feeling: shame. Look at a dog. Look at a cat. They don't care if you see them naked, they don't cover themselves, they don't blush. But we do. We are the only species that pumps blood to our faces just to let everyone around us know we feel exposed. Why? Because covering our bodies created a psychological divide. It separated the self from the animal. Being naked wasn't just cold anymore. It was dangerous. It meant you were vulnerable. It meant you were wild. It meant you lacked the resources or the social standing to wear the skins of the hunt. Over thousands of generations, this association burned itself deep into our neurology. We started assigning morality to fabric. We decided that showing our natural biological form was offensive. We built religions around modesty. We passed laws criminalizing the unhidden human body. We turned a prehistoric survival blanket into the most complex social signaling system on Earth. Your clothes tell the world who you are, your status, your wealth, your tribe. But beneath all of that, they tell a much darker story. They are a constant physical reminder of the fact that we do not belong here. We are an animal that physically outgrew its own environment. We broke the rules of evolution. We traded our natural armor for the ability to sweat and run, and in doing so, we banished ourselves from the natural world forever. Look down at your clothes again. Look at the fabric on your arms. Look at the shoes on your feet. You aren't just wearing an outfit. You are wearing the ghost of an ancient survival mechanism. You are wearing a biological workaround. Every time you button a shirt or tie your shoes, you are participating in a 170,000-year-old tradition of hiding from nature. We are the only species that realized we were vulnerable. We are the only species that felt the cold and decided to steal the warmth of something else. And we are the only species that became so terrified of our own reflection that we built an entire civilization just to keep it covered. You were born perfectly adapted to be an animal, but you will spend your entire life wrapped in fabric. Because if you take it off, if you stand completely naked in the world, you have to face the terrifying reality of exactly how fragile you really are.